Okay, so terrible news last night from Chesapeake, Virginia. There was a shooting at a Walmart. Disgruntled employee went into the Walmart, shot and murdered 6 of his coworkers, and then shot and killed himself. And this is we're coming right off of another shooting that happened in Virginia at UVA, University of Virginia. And I live in Virginia. I live in Virginia, and I don't I don't know I don't see how something like this can continue to happen when we could be addressing the problem. And the video that I'm making now is going to be me talking about what Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin's response has been to these tragedies and these massacres, because I feel like it's important to talk about this. So, first, early in the morning, he tweeted out this. It says, "Our hearts break with the community of Chesapeake this morning. I remain in contact with law enforcement officials throughout this morning and have made available any resources as this investigation moves forward. Heinous acts of violence have no place in our communities." Because we all know that the Youngkin and the governor saying that tragedy, violence is bad. That's probably going to stop people from doing violent things. I mean, it's worked in the past, so I don't know why it won't work this time. He also said that he's ordered that the flags of the United States of America and the Commonwealth of Virginia are to be flown at half staff immediately. So that's nice, but this is really what I want to focus on here. This clip we have here of him talking. I think either after or before he held a press conference earlier.
We see again in the Commonwealth.
Hold on, let me turn this up for y'all. It's really quiet.
We see again in the Commonwealth and in Colorado and in Idaho these just stark reminders of senseless, violent crime. And so much of it is really a moment to reflect on the state of mind of America and Virginia, and this mental health crisis that we know we are in the middle of.
Okay, so Glenn Youngkin, instead of addressing anything about guns or a gun problem in the United States, Glenn Youngkin makes the baseless, easily, and has been time and time again, provably wrong claim that it's not a gun crisis, it's a mental health crisis. And I can't iterate to anyone watching this video just how dangerous this type of rhetoric is from somebody like a governor, a Republican governor of a state. But this type of messaging, especially to people that support him, this is what people are going to go around and say, and that's not true. He didn't even say the word gun. Glenn Youngkin he's a Trumper, okay? But he tries really hard to not put that out there. He's very well spoken. He tries to be very well spoken. But he is a hardcore Trump Republican. He's doing a good job hiding it, though. He really is. But Governor Glenn Youngkin, now, we've had 2 shootings, very, very terrible, tragic shootings where multiple people have died in a 2-week span now. UVA and now Chesapeake. And we heard him say about the mental health crisis. And I found this interview from CBS from June 23rd. About a month, I believe, after Uvalde.
You mentioned keeping Virginia safe. I know we have to go, but the gun law proposal, do you support it when it comes to funding red flags and background checks for individuals under 21?
Yeah, so to be clear, I haven't studied the law in detail. Let me tell you what we did in Virginia after these 2 horrific shootings in New York and in Texas, is we pulled together local educators and local law enforcement to make sure we could preempt any, God forbid, copycat crime. We immediately went to work to fund extra money in for school resource officers, and we got it in our budget. We, in fact, signed a bill that would require schools and law enforcement to collaborate on school safety plans.
Good.
These are things that I could do right out of the box. And then finally, We're in a mental health crisis in America. We know it. We're in it in Virginia. And so we just signed a budget that includes enhanced funding for mental health support.
So there it is again. This is 5 months ago, before either of these, a long time before any of these tragedies, UVA and Chesapeake, happened. There he is again, saying that it's not a gun problem, it's a mental health crisis. And let me also be clear here. This gun law proposal, this is nice. Like, that's good or whatever, but that's not enough. That's not enough to combat things like this happening. And Glenn Youngkin says, coordinating with educators and lawmakers and trying to create safety plans and stop copycat crimes. That's not going to happen unless we do something about the guns. I don't understand how these Republican politicians can be so out of goddamn touch and then turn around and say, well, the American people in my state or people in my area, they're really focusing on kitchen table issues. So inflation, high gas prices. My fucking issue is go out and worry that if I go into a Walmart or if I go into a college or school or what the fuck ever, I might get shot and fucking murdered by a crazy motherfucker with a gun or just some motherfucker that has a gun. And none of these Republican politicians want to address it's a gun problem. They want to say mental health crisis, mental health crisis. That fucking bullshit has been proven wrong so many times. The vast, vast majority of mass shooters do not have mental health issues. This is so easy to understand. This is so easy. It's not easy to do. Addressing this gun problem, addressing it, that's the easy part. The hard part is actually figuring out how to solve this problem and how to combat things like this from happening. Governor Glenn Youngkin, Republicans, and Governor Glenn Youngkin here wants to say that it's a mental health crisis. That doesn't solve the issue, Glenn. Nothing he said or done has solved any issues for anybody. I'm going to tell you right now, because I live in Virginia, what the fuck Glenn Youngkin's done since he's been governor. He set up a CRT tip line. This is a news article from my local news, January 25th, 2022, of him saying that he's setting up a tip line to report divisive teaching practices, pretty much CRT. And it got shut down because people were calling it not to report critical race theory, but to report actual fucking issues. And when people started reporting actual issues that weren't CRT, what did Glenn Youngkin do? He shut the shit down. And this is what, again, Glenn Youngkin, it's like I said, he's a smart Republican. He is. Even when he takes a fat L, he's good at hiding it. He's really good at hiding it. Apologizes to Nancy Pelosi, does it in private, sends her a letter, doesn't want anyone to know, shuts down the CRT tip line, doesn't say anything, goes on a radio show to announce he's fucking doing it, the John Fredericks radio show, but when he shuts it down, he doesn't say anything. And it's like, Glenn Youngkin, from a Republican standpoint, this guy is like the golden boy right now, right? I have seen people in my state and on social media that I honestly don't know if they live here or not, saying that Glenn Youngkin could be president. No. And it's like I said, if you look at his track record here, at least as governor, he really hasn't done a whole lot. And I'm getting beside the point, but Fox News puts out this article in this video. Glenn Youngkin voices solidarity with families, community affected by Walmart shooting. Our hearts are heavy. Thoughts and prayers. That shit don't do nothing. You're a politician. This guy is someone who frames public policy, and he gets on his Twitter and says, my heart is heavy. He goes in front of the press and says, it's a mental health crisis. Dude, that shit's not solving anything. You're not fucking even addressing the actual fucking issue. Real issues. In this CBS interview, it's like I said, I'm going to say this again. He goes on this rant about inflation, about the kitchen table issues that Americans really care about. I someone that lives in your goddamn state, Glenn, care about these shootings, and I want to see something done about them. I don't want to wake up and see that there has been another mass shooting after we just had one at a Walmart in Chesapeake. That's not... there is always going to be crime. I can't sit here and say that, or we could ever reach a point where there's no crime. There is always going to be crime. Yes. But America has gone so far off the deep end. So many people are so radical when it comes to their Second Amendment rights and these just guns in general, and it's fucking crazy. It's insane, and the most insane part about it is you have a fucking Republican lawmaker, a public policy maker like Glenn Youngkin, who sits there and instead of saying that we might have a gun problem,
the state of mind of America and Virginia and this mental health crisis that we know we are in the middle of.
the mental health crisis that we know we're in the middle of. Glenn Youngkin, what's the mental health crisis? Can you explain that shit? Because they never explain it. Republicans say mental health crisis. What is the crisis? Glenn Youngkin is the fucking mental health crisis because he seriously thinks that there's no gun problem. This shit is bananas. It's fucking bananas. It is fucking bananas that people elected this guy and he can't even verbally address a gun fucking problem in the country that exists. It's not a matter of debate. This shit is what the problem is. Anyone could sit there and be like, guns don't kill people, people kill people. All this dumb bullshit that you could say. There are literally so many different reasons why gun reform should have happened so goddamn long ago. And ever since Columbine 1999, these things have just increased. That's all that's happened. And they're just going to get worse until the problem is addressed. And you're going to continue to hear this a lot, especially if these shootings do start to increase, which it doesn't seem like they're going to stop anytime soon. You're going to hear a lot of Republicans saying, oh, it's the mental health crisis. In fact, I have an example of this. This weird thing that somebody replied to me on Twitter. Probably just a troll, but still a weird fucking thing to say, because I'm sure that Republicans will run on this. So I tweeted out that Glenn Youngkin put out a statement saying, heinous acts of violence have no place in our community. Congratulations, Glenn Youngkin, you ended mass shootings. So I put out a tweet being a little bitch toward Glenn Youngkin because I think that he deserves that. And I said, none of the Republican politicians want to address, let alone acknowledge the gun issue in the U.S. And somebody responded to me with a video, I guess, of the suspect. I don't actually know. I didn't click on this. And they said, what are your thoughts on this black gay Democrat who used a pistol in Chesapeake? And here's my thing about this tweet and about anybody that would say anything like this. Here's the thing. I truly believe in reform of all people. I do. But a shooter is a shooter, okay? A shooter is a shooter. You can't sit there and be like, he was black and gay and a Democrat. That shit has nothing to do with it. And if you think that has something to do with the mass shootings, you're number one, you're crazy, you're a fucking idiot, and you're also fucking weird. That's a weirdo thing to say. What are your thoughts on this black gay Democrat who used a pistol in Chesapeake? That shit doesn't matter. What about all the white supremacist mass shooters that go in? What about the Buffalo shooter? It's just a weird fucking thing to say. And I'm sure that, it's like I said, people are definitely going to run with stuff like this. Black gay Democrat who did the shooting. It's still a gun issue. Republican, Democrat, black, white, gay, straight, it doesn't matter. It's a fucking gun issue. Anytime something like this happens, you're going to hear people like me and me say that there's a gun problem, because that's what it is. Guns, the amount of guns in this country have only increased over time. Guess what else has increased over time? Fucking mass shootings. It's not hard to do this math. It's really not.